Something is happening right now that you cannot see with your natural eyes. Something is moving that you cannot yet feel with your hands. Something is shifting in the invisible realm that is about to thunder into your visible world with a force so sudden, so overwhelming, so completely unexpected that when it arrives, you will not have words, you will only have tears. Tears not of sorrow, but of the most breathtaking, earth-shaking, soul-splitting gratitude you have ever known in your entire life. I need you to hear me right now, not just with your ears. I need your spirit to wake up and lean in, because what I am about to speak over your life did not originate in this room. It came from the throne room of the living God, and heaven does not waste words. You have been waiting. I know you have been waiting. Some of you have been waiting so long that the waiting itself has become your identity. You wake up with it. You carry it through the day. You lay down with it at night. You have prayed until your knees were sore. You have believed until your mind was exhausted. You have trusted when trusting felt like the most painful thing a human being could do. And somewhere deep inside, in a place you rarely show anyone, a quiet voice has whispered, maybe it's not coming, maybe I prayed wrong, maybe God moved on. I came here today to look that whisper in the face and destroy it, because what you have been calling delay, God has been calling design. What you have named abandonment, heaven has named alignment. What felt to you like a closed door was never a rejection, it was a rerouting. And the road God rerouted you onto leads somewhere so magnificent, so beyond what your natural mind has dared to imagine, that if I told you right now what was waiting for you on the other side of this season, you would weep, not from pain, from awe. God is about to shock you with His favor, not bless you gently, not nudge you forward quietly, shock you. The way lightning shocks a dark sky, the way a flood shocks a dry valley. Suddenly, completely, undeniably, with evidence so clear, so loud, so impossible to explain by human reasoning, that even the people who doubted you will stand in silence, not because they finally believe in you, but because they finally cannot deny what God has done. This is not a motivational message. This is a prophetic moment, and I believe with everything inside me that you did not arrive here by accident today. You were positioned. Heaven arranged this because God wanted to look at you right where you are, right in the middle of your uncertainty, right in the center of your exhaustion, and say, your time has come. I want you to understand something that most people spend their entire lives missing. Most people live as though the blessing is something they must chase, something they must earn, something they must convince God to release. They beg, they bargain, they perform. They exhaust themselves trying to create the right conditions for God to finally move. And I say this with all the love in my heart. That is not how divine favor works. That is not the nature of what God has already set in motion for your life. Before you woke up this morning, heaven had already issued a command. Before you walked through that door today, before you opened your eyes, before your feet touched the floor, God had already spoken over your life. The decree was not waiting on your prayer. The decree was not waiting on your perfection. The favor that is about to overtake you was signed and sealed in the courts of heaven long before you ever thought to ask for it. That is what makes it a divine surprise. You don't see it coming because it was never dependent on what you were doing. It was dependent on what God had already decided. Think about that for a moment. Really let it settle in your spirit. There is a difference between something that is coming and something that is already en route. When a package is coming, it hasn't left yet, it's still sitting somewhere waiting to be sent. But when something is en route, it is already moving. It has already departed. It is already in motion. It is already traveling toward you right now, and nothing about your current circumstances can recall it, reroute it, or cancel it. That is where your favor is today. It is not sitting in a warehouse waiting for you to qualify. It is moving. It is in transit. And heaven does not lose shipments. Now I know what some of you are thinking. You are looking at your life right now, and you are seeing the exact opposite of favor. You are seeing closed doors and shrinking bank accounts and relationships that fell apart and dreams that still haven't materialized. You are looking at your reality and the word favor feels like a cruel joke. I understand that feeling. I have sat in that feeling. But here is what I need you to understand. The absence of visible evidence is not the absence of divine activity. Just because you cannot see the favor does not mean the favor is not already moving toward you. When a storm is building over the ocean, the people standing on the shore cannot see it yet. The sky above them still looks ordinary. The water still looks calm. But miles and miles out, something massive is already forming and moving and building. The evidence hasn't arrived at the shore yet, but the storm is real. It is already in motion. This is exactly how God's favor operates in your life. The evidence hasn't reached your shore yet, but something massive has already been decreed. Something powerful is already building. Something unstoppable is already moving in your direction. And it has been moving long before you noticed the stillness. God does not announce his surprises before they arrive. He doesn't send a warning. He doesn't give your enemies time to prepare a counterattack. He doesn't give your doubt time to talk you out of receiving it. He simply moves. And when he moves with absolute authority. No force in heaven, on earth, or beneath the earth can intercept what God has already commanded to find you. The decree has been issued, the favor is already en route, and it is carrying your name. There is something that happens to a person when God goes quiet, and if you have ever experienced it, you know exactly what I am talking about. You pray, and the heavens feel like brass. You seek, and nothing seems to open. You wait, and the silence stretches so long and so wide that it begins to feel less like a pause and more like an answer. And the answer you start to hear in that silence is the most dangerous lie the enemy will ever whisper into a waiting heart, that God has forgotten you, that he moved on, that somehow, somewhere along the way you fell off his radar and the prayers you sent up dissolved before they ever reached his throne. I need you to confront that lie today. And I need you to confront it with the full force of truth, because the silence you have been sitting in is not evidence of God's absence. It is evidence of God's strategy, and there is a profound difference between the two that will completely transform the way you interpret every quiet season you have ever walked through. Think about how the greatest things in this natural world are formed. A diamond is not made in a moment of noise and movement. It is formed in darkness, under pressure, in absolute silence, over time. Nobody watches it happen. Nobody announces its formation. It builds in secret, hidden from every eye, until the day it is finally revealed, and its brilliance is undeniable. Gold does not announce its refinement. It sits in the fire quietly, while everything impure is burned away. A child does not grow in the womb with fanfare. The most miraculous formation in human existence happens hidden, in the dark, in silence, until the moment of birth, when what was invisible suddenly becomes undeniably, breathtakingly real. This is precisely how God works. His greatest miracles are not born in noise. They are not constructed in the open, where everyone can watch and comment and offer their opinions. They are formed in the hidden place. They are built in the quiet, and the very seasons that feel the most still, the most empty, the most unbearable in their silence, those are the seasons where God is doing his most precise, his most intricate, his most powerful work in your life. The silence is not God sleeping, the silence is God building. There is a difference between a contractor who hasn't shown up and a contractor who is working behind the walls where you cannot see him yet. You walk through the house and everything looks the same. Nothing appears to have changed. But behind those walls, the foundation is being reinforced. The framework is being strengthened. The infrastructure that will hold the weight of everything coming is being carefully, deliberately, and expertly put into place. And when the walls finally come down and the reveal happens, you will understand why nothing looked like it was moving. Everything was moving, just not where your eyes were looking. God is working in the invisible before he works in the visible. He always has, he always will. He was working in Joseph's life inside a prison cell where no one was watching. He was working in David's life, on the backside of a desert, where no one thought to look. He was working in the life of every person who ever stood exactly where you are standing right now, in the middle of silence, in the middle of uncertainty, in the middle of a season. So quiet, it felt like abandonment. And every single one of those people came out the other side of that silence into something so magnificent that the silence itself became sacred in their memory, because they realized the silence was never emptiness. It was the sound of God working in ways too deep and too deliberate for human ears to detect. Your silence is not punishment. It is preparation, and what God is preparing inside it is worth every single moment of the wait. I want to talk to every person in this room who has been waiting longer than they expected. I want to speak directly to the one who started this journey with fire in their eyes and faith in their chest, who believed with everything they had, who prayed and planted and stood and trusted, and is now quietly wondering why it is taking so long. Because the waiting is the part nobody prepares you for. People will tell you to have faith. People will tell you the blessing is coming. But very few people will sit with you in the middle of the wait and tell you what the waiting is actually doing inside of you. And that is exactly what I want to do right now. The waiting season is not a gap between where you are and where God is taking you. It is not empty space. It is not wasted time. It is not God looking away or forgetting your name or attending to someone else's situation while yours sits unresolved on a shelf somewhere. Every single day you have spent waiting has been a day of sacred preparation, and I use the word sacred deliberately because that is exactly what it is. Holy, set apart, purposeful beyond what your natural mind can currently measure. You have to understand something about the nature of God's blessings. They are not light, they are not casual, they are not the kind of thing you can simply hand to any person at any moment and expect them to carry well. The blessings God has ordained for your life carry weight, they carry responsibility, they carry influence, they carry a level of exposure and pressure and demand that would absolutely crush a person whose character had not been built strong enough to hold them. And this is why God does not simply hand you what He has promised the moment you ask for it. He is not being unkind, He is being deeply, carefully, profoundly kind. He is making sure that when the blessing arrives, you will not collapse under it. Think about a tree that grows quickly in soft, easy soil, looks impressive on the surface. It shoots up fast, it gets tall, it looks strong from a distance. But when the storm comes, when the wind pushes against it with real force, that tree bends and breaks because its roots never had to fight for depth. It never had to push through hard ground. It never had to anchor itself against resistance. But the tree that grew slowly, the tree that pushed its roots down through rocky, resistant, difficult soil over years and years, that tree stands when everything around it falls. Not because it is taller, but because it is deeper. And God is far more interested in your depth than your height. The waiting season is where your roots grow deep. Every morning you chose faith over fear, added another inch of root. Every night you cried out to God instead of walking away, added another layer of strength to your foundation. Every time you stayed faithful in obscurity, every time you kept serving when no one noticed, every time you kept your integrity when compromising would have been so much easier, you were not wasting time. You were becoming the kind of person whose foundation can hold the weight of what God is about to place on your life. And here is something that nobody tells you about the waiting season. It does not just strengthen you, it purifies you. It burns away the things that cannot enter your next season. The impatience, the pride, the need for human validation, the dependency on people's approval, the fear of what others think. These things cannot travel with you into where God is taking you. And the waiting season is the fire that burns them off, not to hurt you, to free you. Because what you are being freed from was always going to limit what you could receive. God is not delaying your blessing. He is delaying your arrival until you are ready to receive it without it destroying you. That is not punishment. That is the most extraordinary form of love a father could ever show a child. He sees what is coming. He knows what it will require. And He loves you far too much to give it to you before you are strong enough, deep enough, and free enough to carry it well. The wait has never been the problem. The wait has always been the answer. I want you to do something right now that may feel uncomfortable. I want you to take everything you think you know about how blessings work, everything you have been taught about how success is earned, everything the world has programmed into your thinking about qualifications and credentials and connections and timing, and I want you to set it aside just for this moment, because what I am about to tell you will not fit inside the framework of human logic, and if you try to force it in there, you will miss it entirely. God's favor does not follow human rules. It does not consult your resume before it moves. It does not check your bank account before it decides to act. It does not ask your enemies for permission. It does not wait for the right economic climate. It does not require you to have the right last name or the right education or the right connections or the right anything that the world tells you is necessary before something great can happen in your life. When God decides to favor you, He needs absolutely nothing from the world's system to make it happen. He simply acts, and when He acts, logic has no choice but to step aside and watch. Think about how many times in Scripture God deliberately chose the path that made the least sense to human reasoning. He did not choose the eldest son when He wanted a king. He went to the field and found the youngest boy, the one nobody even thought to call in from the sheep when the prophet arrived. He did not use a trained army to bring down the walls of a fortified city. He told His people to walk around it in silence and then shout. He did not send His people around the Red Sea when Egypt was pursuing them. He walked them straight to the water's edge and then split it open. Every single time the method made no sense. Every single time human logic would have looked at the situation and declared it impossible. And every single time God moved anyway, and the impossible became the undeniable. This is the nature of divine favor. It operates in a dimension that human reasoning cannot access. Your mind will tell you that you are too old for what you are believing for. Favor does not consult your age. Your mind will tell you that the door is permanently closed, that the decision has already been made, that the opportunity has passed. Favor does not honor those conclusions. Your mind will tell you that you don't have what it takes, that others are more qualified, more prepared, more deserving of what you are standing in faith for. And favor will walk right past every single one of those arguments without even pausing to address them. Because here is what you must understand about how God operates. He is not looking for the most qualified. He is looking for the most available. He is not searching for the most impressive resume. He is searching for the most surrendered heart. He does not need your credentials to open a door. He holds the master key to every door that exists, and He can swing any one of them wide open for any person He chooses at any moment He decides. Your job is not to make yourself impressive enough for God to notice. Your job is to make yourself available enough for God to use. And when He chooses to use you, when He decides that your moment has arrived, it will not look like anything you planned. It will not follow the sequence you mapped out. It will not come through the channel you were watching. It will come suddenly from a direction you were not looking, through a person you did not expect at a time that caught you completely off guard. Because that is the signature of divine favor. It always arrives in a way that makes it impossible to claim as your own achievement. God engineers the surprise delivery